Hello and welcome to the Science Fiction and Fantasy Marketing Podcast, the show where we help you establish your author brand, increase the size of your audience, and sell more books. You'd think I could say that without stumbling after 3 years. But I'm Lindsay Baroker, and I'm here with my co-hosts.
I'm Jeff Poole.
I'm Joe Lello.
All right, and this week we're going to be talking about using ebook giveaways to grow your audience and sell more books. And we have got two great guests today, Ashley and Maura. They're both from Instafreebie, which we were actually going to talk about our experiences with Instafreebie a couple weeks ago, but I thought, wow, how much better would it be to get people from the outfit here to kind of go over the best practices and just how we can be more effective at ebook giveaways in general. And I know nothing about you guys, so why don't you jump in and maybe tell us about yourselves and how you started working for Instafreebie?
Yeah, of course. So I think I'll go first. So I'm Ashley, and I started working at Instafreebie at the beginning in 2014. And I first came on actually working in our production and operations, but now I actually lead our business development at Instafreebie. And it's kind of a funny story, but I actually met Jason, our CEO, on the bus to my former job. And so I got to know him, and that's actually how I started working at Instafreebie. And later on, Maura actually came on board.
Right. So I actually started Instafreebie through an internship program that Northeastern runs. I went to Northeastern University. It's called their co-op program. And I was initially thinking I wanted to go into more traditional publishing, but I started working with the team and just fell in love with it. So after graduation, they brought me on, and I'm the marketing manager.
Awesome. I'm sure it's a little more cutting edge than maybe what traditional publishing is doing right now.
Yeah, I thought it was really exciting, really a great chance to innovate and speak with authors a lot more personally than I think I get to, as you can see right now. So we'll see, maybe someday in the future, but for now, I'm really happy here.
Awesome. Well, for those who don't know, we've had several guests on who have been doing well, and they've mentioned that using Instafreebie is part of their marketing strategy. So why don't you tell us kind of what the site's all about and what kind of authors are using it?
Yeah, so I'll take this one. Instafreebie is a platform for accelerating great stories and big ideas. And it's really a community of authors and readers working together. And so we actually help to accelerate authors' work by recommending their work to more and more readers too. And one of the really cool new things is that we actually have an app now for Instafreebie that makes it even easier to sideload readers' content so that you, the author, doesn't have to worry about it.
Okay, and how would a person go about, who doesn't have an account there or anything? What are they going to do? Are they just going to upload an ebook description? How does it work?
So to get started on Instafreebie, authors are going to upload their book and create giveaway campaigns. And so a lot of our authors will create giveaway campaigns to share full books, advanced previews, sneak peeks, and other special giveaways. Maura, do you have anything else to add for that?
No, I'm sure we'll have more questions about specific tactics you can use with Instafreebie, but to get started, all you need is an EPUB file. We have options to upload MOBI or PDF if you have a more specialized version, but we definitely need that EPUB file to get you started.
All right, so I know that I signed up to Instafreebie primarily as part of a newsletter building. It was sort of a group giveaway to build newsletters. Do you find that most authors using Instafreebie are using it to build newsletters, or are there other primary uses?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I think we're really well known as an email marketing service and for building your mailing list, but there are a lot of other creative ways that authors have found to use it, such as sourcing reviews, sharing copies with your beta and your ARC teams. You can make your giveaway private so that it only goes to the people you send the link to. You can share with your friends and families, and of course you get that exposure to new readers, which doesn't necessarily have to result in a mailing list sign up. It can just be, oh, you read my book now, here's some spaces that you can connect with me through other means.
All right, excellent. I know that when we were originally going to be talking about this, I checked after having done the giveaway. I checked and discovered that basically 1/3 of my list came from Instafreebie. So I had only been running it for a little while. It was very effective. So I'm All I can say is, with my limited experience with it, it's very, very good at building a newsletter. And we're going to obviously talk a bit more, but I'm happy to know that there's so many other utilities to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I will be the first to admit that I knew absolutely nothing about you guys except for, hearing you guys by name only. So I went and did a little bit of research, trying to see what you guys are doing, and I see that your website says specifically it helps you with sneak peeks and advanced previews. So how does that? I mean, how does that differ from submitting pre-orders or whatnot from like any of the big name companies, Smashwords, Amazon, anything like that? I mean, what exactly does that mean, a sneak peek?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the difference for permafreeze or even other kinds of giveaways that you can do on other storefronts and maybe even other services is that we really have a different goal. It's not, it's not about that direct sale. It's about the connection with the reader. So what our goal really is to connect you with the right readers for, the content that they're really going to enjoy. So like Maura talked about earlier, it's really about giving you an opportunity to connect directly with that reader, whether that's through them signing up to your mailing list, or maybe they want to follow you on social media. Maybe they just like really love your content and they are so excited to talk with you and share their feedback and reviews. Or maybe it's a multitude of those things. But our goal is really to connect you with them so that you are then able to have a genuine experience with that reader.
Now, is that something that you guys recommend doing, that when you're creating your account with Instafreebie? It's like, okay, here's my Facebook account, here's my Instagram account, here's my Pinterest account, here's all the other ones there, and you guys try and match them up, or is that something that the author has to do?
So the way that it works is that authors will upload their book and create giveaway campaigns. So during a giveaway campaign, you can directly sign up readers to your mailing list, and from there, you can, structure the communication with your readers and develop it from there. So in terms of that, like, we are handing it off to you to really develop that audience. But that's really the whole point of Instafreebie, is to give you that direct content or that direct contact so that you can interact with them in a very genuine manner and develop that relationship in a way that makes sense for that reader and for you. And, like, every person is unique, so it's really going to evolve and change based on that person's interests and what they're comfortable with.
So we've had some people on the show that have kind of said, or you hear it on K-boards and some of the forums, that permafree is dead, especially since KU became a thing and Amazon sort of shifted the top 100 free to make it a little more effort to find it. With a lot of people reporting that permafree is not working as well anymore, how come Instafreebie is still viable? Do you think it's just, I don't know, what are you guys doing that's kind of different from maybe just putting your book permafree out there?
Yeah, great question. So putting your book on permafree, like I said earlier, it's a different goal. You're directly looking for sales there. It's more of a transaction. And what I'm talking about, what Instafreebie does with free ebook giveaways, is we're helping you to build relationships. So it's not about a transaction or like, I'm going to give you this and I'm going to take this from you. It's more of like, we're going to work together and I want to give you something because I really want to connect with you and the world. And I want to find other people that want to connect with me too. So it really is a more personal interaction rather than a transaction. And that's why I think it's working. I think people are looking for more genuine connections.
I know that I've certainly heard from like when I get emails, a lot of my fans are letting me know that I'm among the first authors they've dealt with that had interactions, like had availability to the reader, and it certainly seems like it's something that people are interested in.
Yeah, that's cool.
So this is the Science Fiction and Fantasy Marketing Podcast. We talk a lot about science fiction and fantasy. Have you found that some genres work better with Instafreebie and giveaways in general?
I can talk a little bit about that. I actually don't think we've seen a strong pattern in terms of genre, because it's more about finding the right readers for your genre than picking which genre you should put yourself in. I think having, like you talked about at the beginning of the show, having a really consistent author brand. Now for you, Joe, I mean, being accessible to readers is part of your brand. Like that's something they know about you. And that's a really effective way to build your audience. So I think even more than like having a specific genre, it's stuff like making sure that the contents of your book line up with your cover and the description that you're putting out there. And I know there's a lot of pressure in self-publishing to like jump onto certain genre trends, but like writing for you and finding readers who love what you write is really the most important thing you can do here.
Have you found that like sort of corollary to the question, have you found like different type, like for example, fiction and nonfiction tend to have very different styles. Do you find that fiction and nonfiction people use Instafreebie differently, or is it sort of the same experience across?
Ashley might have some more feedback about that, but I would say that everyone's goals are so unique. I think maybe fiction and nonfiction might have different marketing goals, but Ashley, do you have more insight, I think, on the nonfiction side?
Yeah, so I would say that fiction and nonfiction do work a little bit differently in terms of how they're using giveaways. For a fiction author, it is about your story. Whereas with nonfiction, it's really about an idea that you want to share with the world. And oftentimes for a nonfiction writer, a book can kind of be an extension of a business card for them, because that's what they're showing the world. Like, this is my philosophy, this is what I believe in, or this is what I've been researching, and now I want to share this with you. So it then really leads to other opportunities, like with conferences and things like that, for them to really continue to build their brand and do events. So a nonfiction author may more so be looking towards that, although not everyone. Whereas a fiction author is really creating a story and characters that people can connect with and kind of fall in love with. And so you are looking more directly to get sales in those future books as a fiction writer.
Okay, you guys mentioned that when the author, when they're creating their Instafreebie account, it's real important that they upload their EPUB file. Well, inevitably, you're going to get a noob who says, an EPUB, what's that? How do I make it? So therefore, do you guys have a piece of software that you recommend using to have the authors turn their doc files into a decent-looking EPUB file?
Yeah, great question. So one of the resources that we share is that you can use Calibre, and we actually have some step-by-step documentation in our support docs, if that's helpful. But you can use Calibre to change a Word doc into an EPUB. There are also a lot of other softwares. I know some authors are a fan of Vellum, but others are also a fan of Scrivener, and that kind of depends if you're a PC or a Mac user. But those are other softwares that I've seen that are relatively popular with authors to use for creating their files.
Now, I would probably recommend that you guys say that don't use the EPUB file that, let's say, Smashwords generates for you, since they've got their name, ingrained in every last little corner of that. I mean, do you guys allow that, or do you guys frown on that?
I mean, we let authors upload the files that they've created. I mean, we know from just learning and talking with authors that there's just so much that goes into being an author. You have just writing the book alone is hard enough. And then you guys have to create your files and your marketing and your book cover and all these things, especially if you're an independent author. So, we really want to work with you. So if you have a file from Smashwords and that's what you have, then that's fine. We really ask that these files are readable for the reader so that they can have a good experience. Because it really comes down to providing a good experience for the reader that you're trying to connect with.
All right, so in most cases, I assume the authors who are going to upload a free ebook are hoping that the readers will then go on and discover that they have all these other books for sale at full price. So do you usually find that most of the people on your site are kind of doing like a book one in a series?
Yeah, what is it called? The reader magnet is definitely a popular choice, but we have plenty of authors who write prequels or novellas that tie into a series. Some of them find it easier financially to give away something shorter. And then we also have a bunch of authors who give away just previews of the novel and hope to increase sell-through that way. So it really depends on your marketing goals. And I would definitely recommend the most important thing is to make sure that your back matter is set up really well. So there's a call to action that tells the reader what you want them to do when they're done with whatever sample you've given them.
Yeah, we did have a guest earlier in the year who said he had done a preview of his first book because that's kind of what he had. Like, he didn't have a series yet, so he did like the first few chapters. Do you find that, I mean, I imagine a whole book would be better, but do you find that that's still effective? Do people like read the excerpt and then go on and buy the book, or are they annoyed that they didn't get a whole story?
It honestly depends on the type of reader. I think certain readers are looking at Instafreebie and saying, oh, you know, if it's a preview, great. I like to sample things. I personally am someone who, once they're in it, they're committed to it. So for me as a reader, that's not my choice, but we have clear indications on the giveaway which ones are previews and which ones are full-length works, so that readers can decide for themselves and weed themselves out before they even get into the position where they'd say, oh no, this is only a preview, I wanted to read the whole thing.
That's good that you put it out there and they're not unpleasantly surprised when they get to chapter 6 and cliffhanger. Would you recommend, just from what you see, is like the preview okay, or might an author be better served by maybe doing a short story that ties in and maybe uses the same characters as in their first book?
So I can speak to that a little bit, and then Mark, if you have something to add, you can jump in. But authors who have done previews, full books, as well as short stories. Some authors have even done like bonus content and other like special endings and things like that. So part of it is that it depends on what your goal is and what your call to action is with that content. I have seen previews and short stories be as effective as full books. And then more along the lines of the bonus content and other kind of special stories, those have been used more so as rewards for their current fans, so that they're continuing to engage the current fans, so that they keep them, and that, you know, they continue to be like, you know, you're special to me too, and it's not all just about reaching out to new people, but also making sure that you're still connecting with your current fans.
All right, it's good to know. One of the things I was wondering about is, like, as Lindsay said, seems like it might be a mean way to get people to continue on is to end your thing in a cliffhanger. But one of the things I was worried about, or I was wondered about, is should this be the sort of thing that's only ever been available on Instafreebie? Like, for example, if you already had a permafree, making an Instafreebie probably doesn't have as much value as, for example, having something that was exclusively on Instafreebie.
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I think there's still value in a perma-free on Instafreebie. And the reason being is that if you move a perma-free to Instafreebie, you can actually connect directly with the readers. If you've got your book on the storefront, sure, you're getting traction and you're getting sales, but do you actually know who those people are? And do you know who they are to then be able to actually interact with them again? Or are you starting over again? And like, you know, you've done so much hard work just to get your book out there and to get it published and made. So we don't want you to have to keep continuing to start over. So putting a perma-free up can help you to connect with those fans. And I don't know, maybe they've lost the book. It's a way to reconnect with them, make sure they still have it, and make sure they still know you, so that you can then talk to them about, hey, you know, well, I've got this alternate ending, or I did a spin-off story about this character that maybe you would like this too as a reward, or, oh, you know, now I'm selling my other book. So you then have a way to, you know, keep hold of who your readers are and continue to interact with them rather than kind of having to start from scratch every time. So I think there's a lot of value in a perma-free or in a first in a series that, yeah, is the same thing.
Yeah, and to speak to your point about exclusivity, we do have, when you upload the book, you can select that your book is exclusive to Instafreebie. So, you know, what you were saying, at the current time, it's only found on the Instafreebie site. It doesn't matter if in the past it was. And we've actually found that when that little banner is up there, you get a 10% higher conversion rate. I mean, we ran a few tests. So on average, it's 10% higher conversion when readers see that exclusive is something that you can offer them via Instafreebie.
Yeah, that makes sense. I should ask this because it's been talked about a lot in my feed lately. Let's say that you have marked something as exclusive. Is there any sort of punishment if it's discovered that either through your fault or through not your fault that it isn't exclusive? Like, is there punitive measures?
That's a good question. That's something that we don't believe in at Instafreebie. We are really here to help authors and to help readers and to accelerate your content. So that's not something that we're interested in. We do ask that, you know, authors and readers using the site are honest, because that's really just the best policy. So, you know, just, you know,
and I think
you do what you do.
That's a risk that you personally have to take, because your readers, if they see that, that's a damage to your author brand. They say, oh, this this author isn't authentic. If I can't trust them when they say it's exclusive, how can I trust them when they say, like, my book's amazing? It depends. I think it's something that you have to decide for yourself if that's something you want to try.
Yeah, you don't want to be shady. It's
Mhm.
it's not a good way to be known.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay, so you two have obviously been working at Instafreebie long enough now. Are there any red flags? Can you share any common mistakes that authors make that would have them run into trouble with you guys?
Oh,
Crickets chirping, I love it.
I got you. I was gonna say, I wouldn't say run in trouble with us necessarily, but there's definitely some stuff that we don't want people to do for their readers. Like a lot of authors, when they're using the mailing list function, they don't have a proper drip campaign like set up, and they don't contact their readers right away. And when you wait a month, that reader has forgotten your name, they've forgotten where they signed up to listen in the first place. And then, they come back and complain to us like, this author is spamming me. And we're saying, no, you did opt in, we promise. But it puts us in a rough position. It means you get marked as spam. It doesn't look good with mail services. That's a big red flag that I see.
Yeah, that's a good one. I can't think of any at the moment. I mean, the biggest thing that I think that I can share in terms of tips for authors who are looking to really do well and excel at this is that, we're really looking for authors who are actively engaging and sharing with their fans. So as long as you're actively sharing and you have readers engaging with you, claiming your books, downloading your books, and, talking with you in whatever way that they want to, that's really what we're looking for.
So it sounds like you're recommending that you at least have a presence in just about every social media that exists. Would that be beneficial, do you think?
So I wouldn't say that. I would say still stay true to your author brand and communicate in the channels that work for you. Because every person really is unique, and that applies to authors as well. So, if you're not comfortable with Pinterest or you're not a fan of Instagram, like I'm not very good at those platforms. I know a lot of people have success with them, but I don't do so well on them. So, stick with what's comfortable for you because it's going to come off as more genuine. If you're not a Snapchatter, you don't do Twitter, you don't do Facebook, like do what makes sense for you.
All right. I would real quickly. I have a question from one of the viewers in YouTube here. They're saying, have they noticed if their readers are willing to give bad/cheap looking covers on books a chance?
That's interesting. I mean, obviously, a lot of what we do is very cover centric, but I think a lot of book marketing is very cover centric. So it goes back to what we said about finding the right reader for your book. We have readers on our site who are like very tolerant of, maybe you haven't gone through your final round of copy edits and they find something, they still love it. They love the story. They love what's in it. And we have readers who are pickier who say, if that doesn't look professionally done, I'm going to judge it based on that. And that's totally fine. So it depends on what you can personally put out there and you trying to find the people who will accept that.
No.
All right, I want to drill down a little bit more. I mentioned setting up a drip campaign, and I think some people might be going, drip? What are we dripping? What's going on? Are we making coffee? Could you talk about what that is and maybe how people are doing it effectively?
Sure, I'd love to. No, these are like my favorite things. I wish everyone did them. So drip campaign is when you kind of set up an automated, a lot of mailing services offer it. It could be called an automated campaign. When someone signs up to your list for the first time, they're put into this campaign and they're automatically sent a welcome email. Maybe you send them something, once a week before you kind of segment them and move them into your regular email campaign strategy. So your drip campaign can be introducing them to you, introducing them to your dog, telling them what sort of things you email them, like, oh, I typically give out freebies, or I like to give writing updates. So it gives them a chance to kind of see who you are, and maybe they opt out. Maybe they say, oh, this isn't the type of thing I'm looking for. But either way, you're like definitely engaging them right away and making sure that the next time you email them because you have an upcoming book release, they know who you are.
Right. It seems like a good idea, like, after a few days to say, oh, and maybe, hey, I have the second book in the series is $2.99 in case. And do you find that people are willing to buy a full price second book, or are they just looking for maybe the bargain stuff when they come in through you?
I mean, I've done it. Maybe that's all you need. like we said, I think if you fall in love with the characters, if you give the readers a chance to try something out and see if it's a good fit, like nothing's going to stop them from figuring out what happens with book 2. Anything to add, Ashley?
No, I think you covered it.
And do you guys find that authors would, or do you think they should set up the email signups they get through you guys on maybe a different list, or segregated from maybe the readers they get who sign up from the back of one of the books they bought? It seems like, especially if you're going to do an autoresponder, you may want to target it specifically, like, hey, I saw you found my book on Instafreebie, and and maybe here's the second book, or here's another free thing I have.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think segmenting and even creating cohorts for your audience makes a lot of sense, because you can learn so much more about those individuals in those groups and be better able to target them and just package your content and your message in the right way so that you can really effectively communicate with them. Would you add anything else to that, Maura?
You got it.
All right, and one more question on this. I noticed with your site you can kind of set up, I guess, a campaign where you're doing this book and then maybe you're going to do a different book. Would you grab all of the email addresses at once that you get for one book and put them in and get them set up on this? So I guess I'd be worried that maybe they'd be getting a bunch of email at once if they happen to come in late in the cycle or something like that.
Well, one thing, you can move them all over. You can download your CSV, as you've seen. I do want to mention that we do have 2 mailing list integrations. So we have MailerLite. If you're integrated with MailerLite, you do get a 30% discount off of the MailerLite service, as long as you're signed up for both MailerLite and Instafreebie. And then we have MailChimp. So if they're set up through there, you can set it up to be automatically sent to your mailing service. And then, you can put them in your drip campaign. You can put them in your initial welcome email. But if you're downloading them manually, which is your other option if you haven't integrated, like definitely segment them however you want. Make sure they're only getting stuff that pertains to them. Make sure the email's personalized and says, like, you downloaded this book, like, I thought you might like this. So yeah, just what Ashley said, anything segmenting makes it a better reader experience.
All right, cool. And I noticed the guys in the chat, Benjamin was pointing out, for people doing Kindle Unlimited, KDP Select, they have to be exclusive with Amazon, but you can have a 10% sample elsewhere and still be in their terms of service. Do you see people setting up a preview that is like a 10%, especially if you do something like epic fantasy where the whole book is 200,000 words? That could be a pretty decent preview at 10%. Do you see people doing that? And do you think it works to get people to then go over to Amazon and get the book there?
Yeah, I see people do this all the time, and some authors have had really good success doing pre-order sales as well from that 10% preview. So it's definitely something that you can do.
All right, great. And one more question for me, and then I guess we have some more chat questions. But one thing it sounds like with Instafreebie, and that I noticed when I tried my pen name last month, I put a novella up there, is it looks like you pretty much have to drive all the traffic to the book's landing page yourself, or if you're in a group promo, that, like with Joe, it sounds like that really helps. One of the things I was kind of hoping there would be was that people could just browse through a directory that happened to come to the site and find my book without me necessarily also, I'm fine with plugging it, but I feel like I'm limited to people that maybe I've already plugged that to. Do you guys have any ways that maybe other people could find my book without just me promoting it, or is that anything you might be implementing in the future?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think it's kind of a two-parter. So I'll take one portion and then I'll hand it off to Maura. So in terms of there being ability for browsing, we really want to make sure that we're doing this right and that we're accelerating stories and ideas in a way that's beneficial both for authors and for readers, because we really believe there's no such thing as a bad reader or a bad author. It's really just kind of about matching and really connecting the right people together. So we want to make sure that that's done right. So it's not currently a functionality. However, Maura can talk a little bit more about how we do accelerate content in ways that you may not realize.
Yeah, so we do have, I forget if Ashley mentioned earlier or not, but we have what we call our recommendation engine. So after a reader claims a book, if you've ever claimed a book, you can see this, we'll list 3 recommended books. And those are any public giveaway on our site. You know, you all have an equal chance of getting shown there. So we drive a lot of traffic to people that way. You've also seen our blog, hopefully, and our social media, and every single day we're choosing people to feature on there. Like, we understand that it can be difficult to start off book marketing and such, like, it's a crowded marketplace, it really is. So we're really trying to accelerate that in any way we possibly can. And like Ashley said, we're always looking to make discovery better for you all.
All right, I've got some viewer questions for you here. So first one coming from Nikolai. Have you seen an ideal word count for the free giveaway? Does length matter, or just if it's a complete story?
That's a good question. I think in my experience, both with books that I've downloaded as a reader and then also feedback I've heard from other readers, is that I haven't heard anything about the word count, more so in terms of it being a complete story. So like, some people will get upset if they didn't realize it was going to be a cliffhanger at the end, and like they'll really want the rest of that story. I guess like another tip that I would add from earlier, what could potentially be seen as a red flag, is that I think it's really, really important to make sure that you are sharing a complete story. Like, you know, you're putting your first impression out there for people. So why not put your best work out there so that, you know, they're like, wow, this is amazing. I do want to follow this author and I do want to connect with them.
All righty. Question number 2 from Hannah. Has there been any incidents where a book has been uploaded not by the actual author, say like from a publisher or something? If so, how do you handle it?
So that we could communicate with them about what's going on, and, you know, make sure that they were aware. We would, of course, like take it down ahead of time and notify the account, you know, hey, like we believe that this is being pirated, or, you know, obviously better language than that, and make sure they know why the giveaway or the account's being shut down, and then, you know, with an opportunity to work with them if it is in fact the author. And so it would really work on something along those lines. But so far, we've actually had a really good success and haven't had that be an issue.
I think the very few times I've seen that happen, it's been a miscommunication, which is kind of funny. Like, someone will say, I saw this giveaway, I didn't give you permission. And, you know, then we say, oh, so-and-so put this up. They say they work with you, and they'll be like, oh yeah, never mind. Sorry about that. And you're like, okay. Yeah. So in a lot of cases, yeah, it's just a communication thing that, you know, stay in touch with your publisher, stay in touch with the people who run your marketing, make sure you know what tools they're using.
All right. Okay, we have a question from Alex Adale. How do you see yourselves as different from BookFunnel?
Great question. So Instafreebie is really a community of authors and readers working together. And we're here to work with authors too and recommend their content to readers on their behalf as well. So that we can continue to accelerate your work, so that you aren't in it alone, but we're in this really together and working together to accelerate us, but also, more importantly, to accelerate your work to the readers.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
I was just curious if Maura would have anything else to add there that I might have missed.
No, I think you got it. I think it's really the community feel, and like, we're here to support you. We have a blog to support you. We have really active social media. We're really active, where our support line is always open for you or your readers. I think that's just our goal, is to really be there for you.
Yeah, and to support readers.
Yep.
The new app makes that side loading so much easier now too.
Perfect segue into the final question I have for the viewers here. Have you guys noticed a lot of people starting to use the new Instafreebie app? And that's a question from Jim.
Well, great question, Jim. I do watch it pretty regularly. So we have over 3,000 installs so far. So it's been going really well. You know, we've been taking our time in terms of communicating it, as we do have a lot of fans who really honestly like the way that we've always done it. So it's going well. What we found, I think, is a lot of readers are really enjoying the fact that they have a library now. It's really easy for them to store what they're getting from authors so that they actually can come back to it rather than it getting lost in, like Maura said, a very crowded marketplace. So it makes it that much easier to make sure that the book is actually getting in the hands of readers. Good
deal.
Yeah, I got a question. Actually, there's another question in the chat, but I also have one. Is Instafreebie, like, the only giveaways I've got up are both just ongoing. They're permanent, so to speak. Have you found that there's any extra value in doing something limited time just for the sort of artificial scarcity of it? Or would you just recommend having long-term giveaways in general?
Maura, you want to take that one?
Of course. We definitely advocate more of an author brand building mentality over like a book launch mentality. That's something that we try to fight against. Like, you should always have something there to make that connection with readers. So we definitely advocate for your long-term thing, but we understand too that sometimes, you're launching, you need to submit a few ARCs, and that's a scarcity thing. You're sending it to a specific number of people. So yeah, again, it all depends on your marketing goals, but we definitely advocate for the long term.
All right, and I got a question from the chat here from Miranda. If authors organize a promo, is there a way to get the promo into the main Instafreebie newsletter?
Yeah, so we figured there'd be some questions about our features. Group giveaways right now is a collection of authors who come together and promote books on a single landing page, in case you're not aware. At the moment, as long as the group giveaways adhere to our guidelines, we look for availability and hopefully we'll slot them in. We will schedule up to 3 a day for each of our genres in our newsletter. So if you want to know the guidelines, or if you want to know our availability, you can always email us at production@instafreebie.com and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
All right, cool.
Sorry, I was writing down your email address there so I could put it in the show notes.
Production@instafreebie.com. So.
All right. I'm sure I'll mangle that and tell them it starts 3 hours earlier than it does. No, but I have a few more questions that came in through Twitter. So Clara asks, how can a new author with 2 to 3 books out leverage Instafreebie giveaways to meet readers and build a fan base? We've kind of been talking about that, but I guess for newer authors, it's really hard. They don't have much of a social media presence yet, and it may be hard for them to get invited into big group promos.
Yeah, I think we definitely understand that. It can be very hard at the beginning. And I know it's best to start networking with authors, even if you feel like you don't have a lot of access with group promotions. Authors who do join group giveaways, and you can look on our forum for this and look on different groups on Facebook. A lot of them are really willing. So when you all get together in that group promotion, even if you're the smallest one there to start, once you keep building your list and joining more promos, eventually you'll get to the point where you're making a huge difference to authors with a smaller audience who are starting where you were originally. So that's what we think the community feel is. That's why we really encourage authors to work together and help each other to succeed.
All right, cool. So it's never too soon to start networking and finding other authors. And
look, here's some authors. You know some.
Yeah, and as it becomes more and more competitive, I think, in the beginning, you could put your book out there for free on Amazon, your book one, and people would just find it in the droves and download. But it is harder now. You have to do more things to try to get noticed. Mm-hmm. All right, and Ashley asks, is there a way to watermark books so they can't be pirated from your site?
I guess I'll do this one. So,
yeah, yes, Ashley, please answer Ashley's question.
That was perfect.
Because Ashley's great. So yes, we do have a social DRM feature so that you can identify the reader who leaked that copy of your book. So you are able to identify that unique reader. You just have to select the DRM option when you upload a book to Instafreebie, and then you're able to use that.
And then you hunt them down. You hire someone on Craigslist to do naughty things to them.
That sort of thing.
I don't know how you all feel, but I've heard authors say that's the sincerest form of flattery. I guess it's all a matter of opinion, but to get big enough that someone would want to pirate it, that's the dream, right?
Hey, if that's a perma freebie, you go right ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. If people find your book on some pirate site, maybe they'll become a fan. You never know.
Yeah.
All right, one more question from Tori. How do you get your book featured on Instafreebie? I see people talking about getting email alerts, alerting them that they're being featured a lot. And you kind of talked about that. Maybe they can email you if they're doing something. But do you just kind of go down and try to find some people to spotlight now and then?
Yeah, so yeah, production, what I was talking about was for the group giveaway features, but our individual features, which I think is what Tori's referring to, we go with authors. We have a you share, we share policy here. So we look for the authors who are doing the most sharing and are working the hardest. And how we exactly pick it is like secret sauce that I can't really tell you. But just rest assured that we have a record of what you've been sharing and what we've been sharing, and we do our absolute best to make sure that we are giving you what you deserve. So if you get that magical email, it's because you've been working really hard and someone on our production team has identified that and they want to reward you.
Do you get confused if somebody shares a book on their site that happens to be their pen names book, so the author names don't match up? Not that I would do this, of course.
As long as you're using the same author account, we can see that it's your book because it's attached to your email.
Yep.
I think it goes to my pen names email. I am sabotaging myself.
You're ruining it.
All right. Well, I do appreciate that you guys have that recommendation engine. That's pretty cool. And I didn't realize that. I mean, why would I actually get a book from Instafreebie just to, no, I mean, I totally should go find some and kind of see how the system works. But I did notice that, you know, I got a flurry of downloads the first weekend when I announced it to the list and everything. But then there were like another 100 in the last couple of weeks that I'm like, I don't know where those came from. So it's good to know there is some discoverability going on.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I think that wraps it up there for questions we've got for you guys. Do you have any final suggestions that we haven't covered for authors that are just hoping to get more copies of their book in people's hands?
I guess the only thing that I would reiterate is that really just check out the app. We're really excited about it and just really happy that it's, you know, working as it should. It's very simple. It's really just speaking that experience of actually getting that file to the reader more quickly and more easily, so you don't have to worry about it not getting to them. Maura, would you add anything else?
I guess I would just add that we're always available. We have an Instafreebie Facebook, we have Instafreebie Twitter. If you have a technical question or your author is having your reader is having an issue downloading, like send an email to support at Instafreebie. Like we're not going away. We're still here. So that's my tip.
Yep.
All right, and maybe listeners should not be like me and should actually go download some books from your site to see how the process works and how it is for the
Definitely.
readers.
I will admit that's what I'll be doing.
All right.
But we have a lot of authors read authors, so you should.
Jeff, I got a sci-fi romance for you to go download. I know you're into those.
I'm sorry, I caught the R word, but I think my system cut out just a little bit.
All right, if you guys don't have any more final questions?
That's it from my end.
No, I think we covered mine.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming on tonight, especially since it was a little later than planned.
Don't worry. It was great to be here.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Go get that wine I talked about now. And all of you listening out there, this was episode 145, and I'll have the show notes up at marketingsff.com if you want to come on by and get that email address or any of the information that we talked about today. Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.
All right, thanks for all the info.
All right, so long, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.